Hadi bismillah. Let's do this. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Madam Luke's. My name is Sim. Along with me are my co-host, Sheikh Amir.
Assalamu alaikum.
And with the one and only, Murtada.
Assalamu alaikum. Hi.
Mort. Assalamu alaikum.
Hi.
Welcome to the show, everyone. We have a very special episode for you guys this evening. Make sure you click on that like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Throw a comment in the comment section with your thoughts related to today's show. Happy to have you all together again
on this lovely Valentine's Day.
Mort, what do you got in that bottle there?
Hold on. I brought you a Valentine's Day gift.
Oh. Happy Valentine.
Is there a Valentine's Day song?
No, I know there isn't actually. But you know, with all the talk related to Valentine's Day being haram and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I talked to like our non-religious, super religious friends. They all do it, and they're like, "Yeah, it might be haram, but my wife cares about it."
Yeah. I'll be honest, bro.
Thing.
Even the people that say it's haram, on a low key, bro, you guys are at least saying Happy Valentine's Day. There's no way, especially right now, because if you don't at least make some kind of reference to it, you're screwed, bro. Like
it's pressure. It's
you have to at least say that.
Business.
Hey, it's Valentine's Day. We don't celebrate it. It's haram, but it's Valentine's Day.
Happy haram.
Yeah.
It's a big business. It's big business, bro. That's what big business does.
So, Sheikh, what if you give it like a day before? Or like a day after or something. Like give flowers like a day before or after. That should be cool, right? Because you're not doing it on the day, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack with that. There's so many misconceptions, even like historically, about Valentine's Day and where it all started, and was it actually a pagan ritual?
No, I'm saying. Let's say it was pagan. Let's say it's all that, right? Let's say it's purely haram. Let's say like the devil comes out and puts.
Yeah, I mean that's a halal loophole that you're referring to, but it's still.
I'm saying because it's not like you want to do it. Because to be honest, most men don't want to spend any money at all, right? No one cares, right? But you kind of want to not get in the doghouse, right? So you're like, all right.
Yeah.
What about the 13th? Like, what about the 15th? Everything that discount. See, the reason why I say day before is because the 15th is discounted. Like everything is cheaper, right? So it doesn't count as much, right?
Even the day after, it's cheaper.
That's what I'm saying. The 15th.
The best time to get candies throughout the year is the day after Halloween. Yeah. That's where you get all the.
But if you do it like a 13th, you don't get written off as being cheap, right?
That's
it's
true.
Just.
Wow, that took a lot of brain power to
well,
think
you
of that.
Well, you kind of got to balance this, right? Sometimes you still lose situation.
Yeah.
The sisters have a lot of holidays, though.
They
Mother's
do.
Day. There's their birthdays, anniversaries.
And then, hold on.
The day you met.
Yeah. And then let's be honest here. Like, on Eid, it's like that's a mandatory gift.
Yeah.
Right? On Eid, right? And we don't get any gifts at all. Like, zero. And you know what? Some guy was like, how come? Like, there was this girl that was posting something like, how come guys never want to celebrate their birthday, right? And it's like because we don't want to celebrate the day all our problems were born. Like, it's like all, and we're gonna end up paying for it,
Right?
So, your gift to me is not going to the store.
Not making me lose money. By buying organics. Organic
Hot
everything.
Buzzword.
Dude, every girl nowadays is everything organic. I demand the fridge be stocked with organic. Like, oh, really? Like,
pay 100% more for everything.
And to be honest, I think there was a documentary about this that, like, majority of what they say is organic isn't actually organic.
Yeah, because they can't even. So the stuff that's organic in the United States, at least, they're required by law to undergo all kinds of different testing.
Okay.
So that, but there are other brands that are organic that can't pay for that testing, that rigorous testing, and be competitive in prices. So they're also doing everything exactly the same as organic brands, but they're just not paying that royalty fee to the FDA or whoever, USDA, whoever inspects the animals.
So I was gonna ask about that. Like, what if you come across some self-help Muslimah blog and she's like, "Hey, I got some organic honey or something," and she's like, "It's purely organic." Who's gonna stop her? And she just gets it from Costco and just rebottles it.
Well, that's what I was wondering. I'm like, wait, how is honey not organic? Because you go to Costco, you see organic honey. I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, how can it be made? Like,
it can be not.
Well, I know
it depends how you process it too.
Yeah, and like plus they a lot of the time they add like syrup and sugar along with it to make it more full.
But they have to list that in the ingredients.
Sometimes they don't.
No, they don't have to. If it's a small amount, they don't have to.
Yeah. Well, small amounts, yeah.
Yeah, but no, even if it's like it depends how they phrase it, and a lot of it has to do with their contracts. But no, there's a lot of olive oils. There's a lot of
olive oil.
honeys.
Yeah, olive oil is a big.
Even
scam
if they say organic,
on.
even if they say organic, pure, 100%. Yeah, it means it includes 100% pure, but it's not. The whole bottle doesn't contain purity of it.
Yeah.
You know.
So here's another crazy thing. Since we're talking about this, I came across this video. Do you remember that guy, that bodybuilder Cali Muscle?
Yeah.
Huge dude, right?
Yeah,
had a massive heart
Shrunk
attack,
now,
right? Yeah, because he had a massive heart attack, and he chose to do everything vegan. Like he's not eating meat. He does like 11-day apple diet, 11-day pineapple diet, and he's looking
He's
good.
shredded now, yeah.
But he talks a lot about he had this whole entire thing. His new thing is about how everything is full of sodium, and he's like, even the water you're drinking, you would think like Fiji and all these water brands that are supposed to be healthy for you. They're full of salt content that they don't tell you about, like openly. Like you can look, each of these bottles of water have absorbent amount of salt in it, and they shouldn't be adding salt.
So I don't think I think what he was saying is, because I think some people have tried debunking it, is that lots of water, the bottling companies, they actually add electrolytes to the water, and they have to actually, by a certain type of water they have to add a certain amount of magnesium, a certain amount of sodium, a certain amount of potassium, like that, like the what do you call the energy water or whatever, the smart water. Yeah, the smart water. That's all it is. It's just
no.
But
he was taking out things that you see like Clear Valley, like regular water, like Fiji water, and he's saying, look, why does it have to have like this much salt in it? Like they add it in there, right? And if it's pure artisan water, as they're claiming it is, right?
But some waters from certain streams have more salt than others.
That's true, but that would be. But this is added. Like when you go to the websites, you look it up. They're adding salt to it, and he's like, he'll go out and like talk about different brands, and he like there are brands that are very clear about how much they're adding, and so right? And he's like, that's why people who have problems, they just choose to do distilled water because there's nothing in it, right? They know for sure it's not in there, right? But you know what you're getting. Although, to be honest, drinking distilled water a lot is not good for you because you can dehydrate yourself.
Yeah, it strips you of your minerals too. That's why water has to have some mineral in it.
Yeah, exactly. But it's interesting to know that even the water that you think is like this healthier drink to be drinking, for people who are diabetic or have heart conditions and they have to have low sodium diets.
You know where it all started? When you had to pay for water.
Yeah.
The problem is, I mean, it's almost like, for us, it's crazy. If you really think about it, you have to pay for water. It's crazy. Well, it's a business.
Now water is a listed commodity on the exchanges because of the water shortages that they're expecting.
So you asked me about the Valentine's Day gift that I brought you.
Valentine's Day gift.
It's interesting.
It's called Juba Farms Camel Milk.
Juba, like the headdress?
Not Juba, like the Juba sniper from Iraq. You know the Juba sniper that took out all the Americans?
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's the one, right? But Juba actually is a river in Somalia that runs through Somalia, and it's like the way from ancient civilizations of theirs how they survived, and they would live off the water streams and close. So these are some Somali brothers that opened up a camel farm in Missouri. Near Kansas City, I think, Missouri. And so they are in the business of, because camel milk is essential to a lot of Middle Eastern diets, especially in the old times, but Somalis still maintain that. They're heavily, and this is like their life source, like camel milk. But I've been drinking camel milk before. I used to get it from a desert farm that was owned by white people in California. I mean, have powder forms and stuff and different things. It takes longer to ship. These people, mashallah, within 3 days they get it to you. Like, really? Yeah. It comes in a freezer box. Everything, right? And it's fresh, and they don't add anything. It's pure camel milk. They have to pasteurize it because of the laws, but it's at very low, at like 140 degrees, and like for 15 seconds, so it doesn't really lose a lot of the stuff. But it is pure camel milk, and for people that are interested, camel milk is different than cow milk. It has almost the same type of feeling, but it's a little bit more, it's like salty and sweet, but there's a lot less lactose in it. There's lower fat content in it.
Yeah, lower less curdling effect in the stomach. Too.
Right, and then there's more iron. There's more nutrients in it as far as there's more vitamin, like especially vitamin C, and also for people, you can look it up on the internet. People who are working out or even in general, one of the things that prevents muscle growth is insulin spikes. Camel milk is a natural insulin-like property. So if you know anything about insulin, your pancreas produces it, right? Every time your body realizes, okay, sugar, your pancreas produces insulin, and it just kind of helps you process the sugars, right? Well, when people when they have problems with that, they become diabetic, whatever it is, or they have some tolerance or resistance to it, they have to take insulin, right? Because insulin is needed in the body to absorb the sugar. But if you notice, insulin can only be taken intravenously. Intramuscularly. I'm sorry, not in the vein, but your body.
Or subcutaneous in the fat.
Yeah, you can't just ingest insulin. It doesn't work that way. Like, there's no way it has to go in from an injection, right? But camel milk is similar to insulin, but you can digest it. And there have been numerous studies about how camel milk, people who have had diabetes or high in sugar or whatever, that by just having 1 glass a day, they were able to drastically reduce their A1C, which is like the measure of the blood glucose levels. And within 30 days, they were off of all medications and off of insulin. There's actually an interesting one in Rajasthan where camels are very popular in India. Yeah. That's the state that has the lowest amount of diabetes. It's almost non-existent there.
They have camels in Rajasthan?
Yeah. Rajasthan has lots of camels.
That's what they drink off of, the camel milk. And they have
it's basically the desert of India.
Yeah. Oh. So they have basically very low levels of diabetes. And they've done a correlative study on it that it's related to the camel milk they drink. So there's a lot of beautiful properties. It's something.
What do you say to the people online? They say, all the studies, medical studies that have been done are biased because they all have Muslim names of all the researchers.
But they're not. The Hindus are not Muslim. Like, they hate the Muslims.
Yeah. That's a
so
claim that
what we're gonna do now is
a lot of haters say out there.
Our brother Sim has never tasted camel milk.
Oh, nice.
So we're gonna pop this open.
Is it still cold?
Yeah, feel it. It was frozen.
Wow, that's cold.
Yeah, because I let it thaw. I just left it out for an hour.
So what do you think about the powdered ones that they sell at like Mediterranean market?
It's not bad, but it's not effective as like real milk. No, here, I just wanted to see how cold it was. Yeah, I'll open it. Yeah.
Someone's gonna chug that whole thing, bichara.
Yeah.
Do they sell that in a gallon?
So this here cost me 3 of these bottles cost me $100.
What?
Yeah. Camel milk is expensive.
Why'd you just announce that online? Can you edit that part, bro?
Why? Why would I edit that out?
Because they're gonna put Nazar on my brother, bro.
No, it's expensive. I mean, it's dawah. It's like shifa, it's healing, right?
Yeah.
Wow, mashallah, what a giving brother, bro. He just handed out $33 right there, bro.
I feel like
that's $33 right there.
I feel like I'm about to.
That's eating a steak right there, bro.
Drink
just give me a little bit, just a little bit.
All right, bismillah. This is my first time,
live
guys.
reaction.
Live reaction. Never tried this before.
Wow. Very different than cow milk.
Oh. No, it's hard to describe. It's like regular milk, but on like steroids. Like
it's almost like I used to taste when we were children. Milk.
It has slightly gamey. Yeah. It's slightly gamey, but it's not like overwhelming.
It almost tastes like ice. Like when you have ice like that.
Well, it's still a little frozen in here. That's why. I mean, as you thaw, it becomes a little better. It's supposed to be a little bit more creamier, but because it was frozen,
creamy. It's
salty and sweet.
Salty.
It's like lassi.
Sure. Salty for sure.
A little yogurty.
Yeah.
A slight it's almost like yogurt.
Yeah, it's like lassi pretty much.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I was scared.
Yeah.
I thought it would be like.
I was scared. Yeah. What are these barbarians giving me now?
Well, I didn't want to like start gagging on air.
Yeah.
Wow, but this is so expensive. Why?
Because camel milk itself is expensive.
We should get some camels over here.
You can.
I got a lot of property here, bro. In the backyard, we'll just set up some camels.
Yeah. You can. Good luck trying to feed that thing every day, bro.
Oh, you can go and eat from the neighbor's backyard. Just eat their grass.
That thing will finish your grasses in a few weeks. Bro.
Really?
Yeah.
But honestly,
see how big those animals are.
Yeah. And the noises they make.
Yeah.
Have you seen the noises they make?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Make a lot.
They can wake up your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It's like roaring.
It's like,
roaring.
Well, if it gets bad, you just slaughter and eat it, right?
Yeah.
But the thing about camels though is that they're extremely loyal to you. Like if the owner dies, the camels literally cry. Like they'll sit there and mourn for their owner. Like they're very loyal animals,
man.
But to be honest, the best camel milk though, and this is the honest to God truth, is when you get it fresh from the udder. Like, oh, it's warm. Camel milk is supposed to be warm. You drink it, and it's like a warm, creamy type of thing you drink. Yeah. It's the best way to drink it.
Yeah.
You have to get kind of used to it, too. Because I remember when we were more
any milk, right? Because
I just had diarrhea, because it was...
But that's any milk, because we're used to pasteurized milk, right? If you're not used to pasteurized milk, you get the runs right away, right? So,
well, hopefully the pasteurization worked with this one, or else I'll be making a quick exit during the show.
All of us at the same time in one bathroom. Mort's going to have to go outside in the side door over here.
Having technical difficulties.
That's good, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
And there is a blessing in camel milk, right? Allah says there's a blessing in the camel.
Yeah. أَفَلَا يَنْظُرُونَ إِلَى الْإِبِلِ كَيْفَ خُلِقَتْ.
Yep.
Wait, can you translate that?
Yeah, have they not seen how Allah has created, or how the camel's been created, right? So Allah's using it as an example, right? Sheikh Tahir ibn Ashur, one of the great mufassirin, he elaborates on that, of like the specifics of a camel and why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses that as an example, because he uses the camel and then the sky, and then the mountains and the earth, all of those things that are meant to lead us to Allah, right? In that verse, everything that's surrounding us is summarized by starting off with the camel and then the sky and then the mountains and then the earth, So it's definitely brings the hadith of Rasulullah too, right? In Sahih al-Bukhari, where a group of men came to I think it was the 8 men that came to Rasulullah in Medina, and they weren't used to the weather and they weren't feeling well. So Rasulullah said, go with the shepherd, meaning who's taking the camels, and drink from its milk and from its urine, and you're going to feel better. Right? And then they ended up killing the shepherd. And Rasulullah ended the hadith. There's so many levels to the hadith. At the end, Rasulullah ordered for their execution and their punishment of what they did to the shepherd, and they made all the camels flee and go in different directions and never came back, But nonetheless, it does have medicinal properties for certain type of ailments, even the camel milk. Even cow's milk. But it's the dilemma is it comes down to like processing. Now things are so highly processed and homogenized and pasteurized to so many different levels and put through so much different heat treatment. It literally for the reasons of palate and for the reasons of how people's bodies react to things, they denature a lot of the health properties of, and that's why people still like to go to like like the countryside, or Arabs used to love going to the Bedouins, where things were a lot more pure and fresh because there's less processing involved. Obviously everything's processed, but the less processing the better. But anyways, to make a long story short, there can be shifa in everything, obviously, as long as you don't denature it. And I think that's a dilemma that we're having as human beings. Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, he said something really beautiful. He says that when the disobedience of Allah occurs on the earth, even the vegetation revolts against them and denatures itself, so the people don't get proper vegetation because they're rebelling to Allah, right? And obviously, he cites a lot of verses from the Quran and Hadith about how nature changes based on people sinning, and how the rebelliousness of them towards Allah causes nature to rebel against a human being, even though nature was created for human being.
Yeah.
So everything can be a soldier of Allah, right? And the same thing goes with those things that are supposed to have shifa in it for us, right?
I started wearing kohl.
Yeah.
In my eye.
Nice, mashallah.
Beautiful, man.
I wanted to improve the old eyesight.
Yeah. Mashallah.
Yeah. And also, do you know what's really good for eyesight?
Yeah.
The Prophet mentioned that the truffle, the juice from the truffle.
That's another expensive, bro. Your tastes are like.
Well, it's not his taste. It's his seeking of those things.
Yeah.
His search for fountain of life is
from
expensive.
But Rasul, it's the Prophet mentioned it. So what do you want me to say?
Yeah, bro.
You think the Prophet advised to be cheap, sir? No. But you know what? Since you mentioned this, it's funny how you think about like the camel, right? And you're like, oh man, like why did Allah mention that? And it kind of reminded me of something I was hearing about the other day. And the ayah, like وَالَّذِينَ تَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِهِ مَا يَمْلِكُونَ مِن قِطْمِيرٍ. And I'm like, what if? And I was hearing this, and someone was talking about it, and why Allah chose the word qitmir. Can you define it? I want to see, like, because a lot of people don't understand. Like, they think, oh, it just means like the date.
Right? I don't know the detailed explanation, to be honest with you.
Okay, so they say that the qitmir is like that membrane in the date, that it's between the seed and like the
flaky
the-
rope looking thing. Yeah.
I always thought
you can't benefit from the date.
Allahu Akbar.
You can't even make that.
Wow, I never even thought about that.
So he's saying it's between the flesh of the date and the seed. So you
Wow.
okay, even the seed you can use, you can retain it. The flesh you can
They
eat
use
it
it to feed camels, also
Right.
the seeds, yeah.
or plant it, right? But that katmir, that membrane, that whiteness,
Wow.
even though it has no benefit, you can't even create that.
Read it hundreds of times, never even thought about it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Allah gives these parables like in animals and creation.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Thank
Anyways,
you, Mort. Needed to
I want to
hear
eat a
that.
camel hump though.
It's fatty.
I
Bro,
saw it.
go
like
to Minnesota.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. Or when I went to where did we go? Columbus, Ohio, where they have lots of Somalians.
If anyone hasn't, I saw it. I just happened to stumble on it on a reel, and it looks like that Japanese Kyobi. Was it Kyobi beef? What's that?
Kobe?
What was that Wagyu?
Yeah.
You know,
Kobe
yeah,
Wagyu, yeah.
Wagyu
Yeah.
Kobe beef. It looks like that. It looks almost pink, but it's got like so much marbling of fat.
Yeah.
So the hump is all fat.
Yeah.
So what happens is when
But
you
no,
cook,
there's meat too, but it's not pure fat.
Well,
underneath it.
underneath it at the very bottom.
Sometimes they'll mix it
So
with
what you have to do, you have to slice it like checkers.
Yeah.
And what they do is it's not the meat's not it's not until you get to the bottom. So what happens is when you cook it though, that meat the fat dissolves over the meat, so
If
the
you
meat becomes very
rotisserie it.
tender. But to be honest, a lot of Bedouins used to survive just off of that fat.
Yeah.
Like they would take the fat because it can last longer if we just keep the fat.
Yeah.
So they would eat the fat.
Dude,
and
if
survive
you,
off
if you
of
go
it.
to Minnesota, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
if you go to Minnesota, you go to Mogadishu
They have a lot of
Mall.
camels there.
They have camel meat biryani in their restaurants.
They have camel farms.
Yeah, dude. No,
Oh.
they get it imported directly from Somalia.
Oh,
to
they get
there.
imported.
Yeah,
okay.
but
Because he was talking about camel farms. So
no.
I
So
thought
check
Minnesota
this out.
already had camel
No.
farms.
No,
Biggest,
they get-
biggest
they-
exporter of camel meat is Somalia.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
But I'm saying they get it from farms in America too, like California.
They
and other
do. Those are
places.
going to be a little more expensive, but the thing is that the Somalians, what they do is they get it straight from Somalia. So what happens? I talked to a guy there. So when I went there twice, so imagine you have the portions are awesome. Camel meat biryani. They cook it. It's not like tough. And imagine in every container, styrofoam container they give you, they have a small piece of camel fat like this, like a rounded piece like this on top. So what they do is they fry it on the outside, so it's a little crispy on the outside and like almost malay in the inside, like a
fatty.
fatty paste almost.
So you can mix it within the
Oh,
rice.
it's so
Yeah.
awesome, bro. It's
Yeah,
something
it
else.
looked
I think
delicious.
It's something
Yeah.
else.
They have a dish
If
called
you like steak fat, you're gonna love this.
they have a dish called zurbiyan.
Yeah.
Zurbiyan is like Yemeni biryani,
Yemeni biryani, yeah.
and so this is what they make out of the camel meat.
Yeah.
It's very
Oh
good.
yeah. Very rich. Oh, lots
All
of
right,
food
well,
talk here,
not-
buddies.
We can talk about the starvation of Qaza, brothers.
Oh my god, what a horrible thing to transition into.
I'm
right
glad you mentioned that.
now. But alhamdulillah, no, you're right. I mean, like that. It's true. Like we just
Bro, I'm joking, obviously, but it's like every bite you eat of
Yeah,
good
it's a
food,
reminder, yeah.
I literally feel guilty. It's gotten to a point where you're wondering, like, what else is left for them to do?
Yeah.
These people, like,
70% of the infrastructure of Gaza is demolished.
well, it's not even that. It's the fact that they were supposed to go to Rafah, and that was supposed to be the safe area.
yeah,
Like that's the worst part. They've been saying, oh, if all of them just went to Rafah, and the border, and it's almost like what they're doing is they are willingly making it worse because they know that Egypt is not going to open the border,
Yeah.
and it's like they're taunting, like, see, we've got you completely cornered. Nobody wants you. Like they're trying to make them.
Did you hear
feel-
Biden when Biden said, he said, "Oh, Israel's response has been over the top," and then
Over the top, yeah.
he says the Mexican president Sisi,
That was hilarious.
right? So whatever, it was funny, but what he was saying is that the Mexican president Sisi has refused to open the border. Why does he want the border open? He's working in coordination with the Israelis to get the Palestinians to move into the Sinai.
Of course.
Yeah.
And that's why he wants the border open. So he's saying that Mexican President Sisi is refusing to open border for humanitarian aid. He's straight up lying. Their plan is to bomb that area so that they just flood into the Sinai. That they have no other choice but to start flooding into the Sinai. This is
Yeah.
how freaking evil these guys are. Unbelievable. Like, I don't buy for a second that this guy has even he's under coercion. Like he's behaving in Israel's interest out of being coerced and pressured by political parties and the lobbying groups or whatever. I legitimately think this guy, maybe he's putting on a little bit of an act that, they're going a little over the top just to save his presidency. But when you are such a snake where you're trying to get Egypt to open up its borders so that the Gazans can flee into the Sinai, that's effectively your plan. You want them all gone because you don't want their blood on their blood on your hands, so you want to expel them all into the Sinai.
Yeah.
Did you also catch the other slip up that he said that our troops are conducting operations? Like, meaning he mistakenly, instead of saying it to the Israelis doing it, like it's almost like that. I don't know if is that a Freudian slip. I don't know.
Well, there are special ops that are working in coordination with the IDF, but they're not. They're operating within what the IDF wants.
They're just doing supportive measures. Like what they say is that we're giving aerial information, coordinates. We're just on standby. But they do run like recon missions. Like they will do things like, okay, here, hit him over here, hit him over there. Like there's been numerous recordings of U.S. Air Force planes that are not civilian, and they're refusing to identify themselves, and they're flying by Cyprus, and basically that means that it's a military plane, right? And they can tell it's a very, it's very apparent that they're American accents, right? And so if it's not a civilian aircraft and they're refusing to identify themselves with an American accent, you can put two and two together.
Yeah.
So these guys have gone to such brazen attempts. They've killed 134 journalists thus far in the Gaza war, and just recently they hit Ismail Abu Omar and Ahmad Matar, who are working for Al Jazeera, and they called them Hamas operatives.
Yeah.
They've intentionally hit them, and then they said, they were Hamas. They were
affiliated with Hamas.
Yeah.
And that the problem with that is that term is so loosely used, and what they're using to kind of bolster that is when they convinced the U.S. or other nations to stop supporting UNRWA, right? Because they're saying, they're Hamas affiliated. What does that even mean? Like, they were like, 19 of them were like social workers, and I'm thinking in my head, like, don't people realize that is the government that's in in Gaza? So if you want to get anything done, you would have to deal with them the same way Israel had to deal with them in the past.
Yeah.
So does Israel have affiliations to Hamas now? Like, it's just so ludicrous to think that. Like, you would say. And here's the other thing I was thinking about. Do you remember all the hoo-ha people were making about Jamal Khashoggi?
Yeah.
Oh my God, the journalist, he was a noble father. I mean, I'm not saying it's not wrong. Of course, what the Saudis did to him is absolutely wrong. What I'm mocking is the outrage. And here you have 100+ journalists.
Hypocrisy.
Exactly. That are murdered in plain sight. Even Mohammed bin Salman didn't justify the murder of Khashoggi. He said, it wasn't my fault. Like these guys went over there and did it, right?
To his credit, he gave blood money, right?
Yeah. But I'm saying that we know that doesn't happen without his order, right? But the point is that even publicly, he's ashamed to say he killed a journalist. And these people are trying to justify.
No, these people are a whole different league, man. Like, people are starting to realize now what Zionists are and what that Israeli entity actually is. And it took this issue for all colors to be shown, and now people are starting to understand, wow, this is much more evil than we've ever imagined. And it's almost like it's so evil, people are still in awe. Like, how do you tell them to go to Rafah? First it was, you go to the south, they were bombing them, they said, okay, there were some, and then they blamed the Rafah, gathering of people with Hamas. People infiltrated the line, so that's what. So how long are you going to be using this whole Hamas thing? And they've used it so much that people are basically now, they were very outraged in the beginning, and they still are, but now it's like, yeah, we're not really going to be able to do anything about this now. It's just what it is now. It's just that the only safe haven, quote unquote, they had was Rafah. People knew, we all knew that Rafah was never going to be safe for them, because we know how the Israeli entity conducts itself. And everything, the worst possible scenario that people thought would happen is happening right now. The worst possible.
Yeah.
It can't get any worse than this.
All of this has led a lot of Muslims on Twitter or X to start wondering, well, have the Muslims lost?
Good question.
Have at a certain point, you have to wonder, what's it, 2 billion, 2.5 billion Muslims? What
Maybe
number?
1.8 billion.
Yeah,
Or
maybe
what-
between 1.7 to 1.9, yeah.
Yeah. 2 billion Muslims. Let's just round it up.
Say, round it up.
Yeah. We like rounding up.
We like having a lot of babies, mashallah, to us.
Yeah.
Why do the Israelis complain about not having, look at us, we're tiny Israel, and we're only taking this much land, and this is all the Arabs and the Muslims in the Muslim world? Oh, we like having sex. You don't. We like having babies, and you don't. Speaking of Valentine's Day, right? How about celebrate that and have some babies?
Yeah.
You could actually have a legitimate claim. You don't even have enough people, so you're actually importing people who are not even Jewish from different countries and importing them into your country.
It's just a silly argument, because not every land is not Palestinian land. I mean, they're divided the same way you're divided, right? Like, why should Jews live in New York City? They have Israel. Like, it's a dumb comment, right? Like, if you could say that, right? Like, why do you have to have that place too and Israel? Like, what are you talking about?
But anyway, so these
Have the
users,
Muslims
some of these Twitter personalities have been vocal about, Muslims are pathetic and we've lost, and we have to accept being defeated. And it led to some back and forth on Twitter between some individuals, including myself. And wanted to know your thoughts, Sheikh. Have the Muslims lost?
Never. No. To backtrack a little bit, Muslims are pathetic. No, Muslims are in a pathetic state right now. And that's very true. In a very humiliated state, that is true. But history will repeat itself. Whenever Muslims are in an all-time low, in a pathetic state, they're only going to get better. You can say every other nation, but we're a different type of nation. We're the, I was about to say we're the nation of Islam. We're the nation of Allah and His Rasul. And yes, the powers, people who are in charge of countries, they feel shackled and they're weak. And it's almost, I want to say that they're definitely not from amongst us the way we think. But the people themselves are seeing this, and this is just the beginning of the beginning. It's unfortunate this is what had to happen, but no, Muslims have not lost. This is just one entity as a part of the Muslims, which is very dear to us, which is Palestine. But there's many Muslims all around the world that feel completely like brothers and sisters to the brothers and sisters of Gaza and Palestine. So we have not lost. This is just a small speck, a small setback that we have, but Allah's promise is Allah's promise, right? And in order to say that Islam has lost, that means Allah has lost, and that's never going to happen, right?
So, I look at it a little bit differently, right? I think people who are looking at it from a purely worldly alone standard.
Exactly.
Right? Our dead are alive with our Lord in paradise, and your dead are burning in a hellfire. And ultimately, that's what it comes down to, right? Like, victory is not determined in this world alone, right? The greater victory is what? In the afterlife, right? And so, if you think that if you think of only in terms of what benefit you get in this world, then sure, you can argue that people lost, right? You lost your life, whatever. But for Muslims who have yaqeen and understand that Allah tests people and that Allah promises these types of tests, that the victory, if they're patient, is with them. They either win in this world or they win in the next world. And it's funny to me because this is something that even the Israelis acknowledge. They say that, there's no beating these guys because they'll tell you that they're martyrs and they go to heaven. They will sacrifice their children, everything. They'll do it. They don't care to live. Isn't that what they say? They say they raise their children to die. We raise our children to live, or something like this, right? And they know that, like, that mentality exists among them. And I would say to these people, like, would you say Sumayyah radiallahu anha is lost the battle?
No.
Or would you say people like this, Hamza radiallahu anh, lost the battle?
Never.
Would you say these people lost the battle? You would never say that. They attained the greatest reward and the greatest victory, right? So that's how I look at it.
So this person is what kind of started off. This person, Aisha Muhammad, she wrote, Muslims have historically defeated the Mushrikeen of Mecca, the Mongols, the Romans, the Persians, the Vikings, the Crusaders, Indian idol worshippers, the Communists, American Crusaders. There should not be any doubt that we will defeat Zionism very soon. MashaAllah, right? This guy over here, party pooper, Shargar
Persian.
You could only guess. I'm not going to say the name of which sect this person is probably belonging to.
Oh.
But it rhymes with
Episcopalian.
Leah's.
Leah's.
Remember that one? Did you see that one?
Shia LaBeouf?
Did you see what? Did you see that? Did you see that one Kanye clip? Where he's like, I'm not going to mention what ethnicity or what race this was it an attorney or something, or
I think I know what you're talking about.
I'm not going to mention which hospital this was from. And then he goes, all right, it was Jewish.
So funny.
It was hilarious. But sugar over here is
Checkers.
so he goes, this is just pure coping emerging from a defeated people. We are in no position to defeat anyone. Right now we are praying that America can rein them in, and that's all we can do. Appeal to the morality of our conquerors. 350 million Arab Muslims and 80 million Turks surround Israel on three sides. Why don't they just defeat Israel in a few weeks? Well, we want them to, but we're led by corrupt rulers. Oh, that's right. A few $1 billion of military aid is all it took to buy off the proud Muslim Ummah. The only army that came close to doing so is hated by this group because they're Iran-backed and Shia. So he's clearly upset at the Sunni Muslim world. He seems like he's wanting to rub it in, like, hey, our Iran did something, and you guys, you and your Sunni countries have done nothing.
So I think, to be fair, he's right. Muslim governments have done nothing. But where he makes a mistake is that Muslim governments are not representative of the people.
Yeah.
It's not these people that win the wars. It's not these people that will inherit, that are khulafa as the Quran. The problem with the Rawafid is they don't know Quran. They don't know it. And the reality, Allah says He will appoint khulafa on the earth. Who are the khulafa? They are righteous who inherit the earth. Evil, corrupt rulers do not inherit the earth. Believers maintain it, and Allah raises from a nation good people who enjoin good and forbid evil,
yes, sir.
and they inherit the earth. And if Iran is so great, let them fire a bullet. Let them. Iran is happy to go to Syria and destroy it. Iran is happy to go to Yemen and destroy it. Iran is happy to go to Iraq and destroy it. Send their military, send all their people, but they'll never fire a single bullet at Israel. So where's this great Iran? Where's this superpower of Iran that can bring Israel to its knees? It's busy funding Sunni countries to go fight when they don't want to fight themselves. Sunni militias inside of Sunni countries that are Shia backed or have allegiance to Iran. And this is not to start a sectarian. This is just facts. I look at Iran the same way other Muslim governments use Sunni Islam. They use Shia Islam. I'm not going to make it about sectarian. This is about Iran. Iran is a coward nation like all the other Arab nations. They're cowards. They don't want to do anything because it jeopardizes their position and their safety. And ultimately, they want to maintain their sovereignty. And so how do they do that? By not getting involved. They have to make so many announcements. Hey, we didn't tell Hamas to do it. We didn't tell them to go here and do that. You know, our hands are clean, right?
We didn't tell the, what's it called, that other Hezbollah group?
Yeah,
Kataib Hezbollah.
Kataib, yeah.
Yeah. We didn't tell Kataib, and Kataib, like, comes out with this media statement. We paused all bombing campaigns. We're not going to do anything. We're sorry. We killed you. Yeah. We thought it was going to be, you know, just like a warning shot, but
we thought Daddy would like it, you know.
Apparently, I think they knew, like, sometimes they show these like demonstrate these shows or put it on a display of force just for the sake of show. And I think that's what Qatar was trying to do. Qatar Hezbollah, when they sent that drone in to the American base, they thought, oh, they're going to blow it up. It's just, we're just trying to scare them, like kind of show like we're going to do something. Little did they know that there was another aircraft that was coming down at that same point, a friendly aircraft to that American base, and that American base turned off its defenses, and then the drone got through their defenses and hit the building. Like, oops.
You know what it reminds me of? You know when you play baseball? Yeah.
And they were like, we're sorry. You know when like a police like picks on you, like the kid like punches back? Like, oh, I'm sorry I punched you.
No, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like, when you literally play baseball and you knocked the ball in the neighbor's window and you broke it. You're like, hey, I'm sorry, dude. I didn't mean to do it. You thought you're a tough guy playing ball back here. No one's going to bother you. And then you did it. You're like, oh, I got to go.
Yeah.
So, gotta go.
Some people in the chat are asking whether we know Shahrazad is Shi'i. I don't know if he's Shi'i.
Can we go to the profile?
He says he's Persian, I think, or where is this thing? Oh, jeez. Where's all these buttons? Here we go. Okay.
Click on the profile.
Actually,
I'll do it.
Sugar Shi is it's Sharkzada. Why don't you have a K in your name?
He might be Afghan.
So he's teaching Rumi, and he's trying to sell a book too. Poet. He's a poet. MashaAllah.
He might be Afghan. Sharkzada. Zadeh.
Sharkzada.
Let me Okay, I'm gonna just go Sharkzadeh. I'm gonna go. I don't know. I mean, we'll look. But regardless of if he's Shia or not,
it's not even about that. We're not even making it.
Yeah, it's about Iran, right? This is what it's saying. If Iran is so great, we don't hate Iran just because they're Shia. Theologically, we may differ and we despise their disgusting beliefs, but politically, it's different than that. It's like there are Shia nations that don't get involved in Sunni areas, and we don't have a problem, like Azerbaijan, right? These are places that don't get involved with Sunni areas, and Turkey and Azerbaijan have a working relationship. Same with Saudi Arabia and other places. This is not about Shia and Sunni in this particular case. This is about Iran and its political agenda and the hypocrisy, right? So if people want to make claims like this, that Arab nations are cowards and they could have done something in the military, the same exact thing can be said about Iran. They're cowards in the face of an enemy. Actually, they're probably even bigger cowards because they're willing to fight a war in other places. Iran, America, and Israel have taken out numerous of their positions, have bombed them, have attacked them, have done all kinds of things, and yet they're saying, "Oh, not yet. Now's not the time. We will retaliate when it's suitable." Like, what do you mean suitable? You just got whooped, bro. What are you talking about? Like, he just smacked you in your face. You're gonna wait now? Yeah. Like, it doesn't make sense. Yeah. So
look, we Muslims we survived the onslaught of the Mongols. The Mongol hordes is not like some light invasion that happened. They decimated the Muslim world. They went through and sacked the capital. They executed the Khalif Muslim Billah. They killed him. The Muslim world at that point was fractured. It was into these little tiny vassal states, and all these people were looking out for their own interests, and then really into wealth and into the dunya, and they didn't care much about the affairs of Islam and spreading. It was clearly the decline of the Abbasids at that point, and we survived. We came through that incredible period where the conquerors eventually became Muslim, right? The Mongols settled. They in their conquered Muslim lands, and they accepted Islam. Yeah, and that's how Allah works, and that's how He wanted to reinvigorate the Muslims. Yeah, and unfortunately, Muslims at the end of the Ottoman Empire and till today, we were in a similar fashion. Our mentality is me first, everyone else second. I'm going to care about myself and my self-interest first, right? Isn't that what the Prophet's saying when the plate of hungry eaters is sitting around a plate of food, and the Sahaba, he says that the Muslims will be great in numbers, but the world will eat out of you, like as if they're a plate of hungry eaters. And the Sahaba asked, like, is this going to be because we're small in number? He said, no, you'll be great in number. And then they asked why. Then they said wahan, and wahan is what? Hatred of this life and hatred of life, hatred of love of this life and hatred of the of death, right? Yeah. So that's our mentality, right? We're in this capitalist mindset where each one of us, no one's better than other people. We're all working to fight this so that we are we're ready to sacrifice whatever is needed, for Allah and what the future of the Muslims need. And that's what it comes down to, that sometimes this refining period happens where, when you process gold, the impurities of gold have to be kind of refined, and you have to put it in that molten hot lava in order for those, and that causes pain and suffering. But at the end, where I know as clear as these computer screens and you guys are in front of me that we're going to come out on top.
Yes, sir.
And it's just about how we get ready for this moment. How are we going to prepare ourselves? How do we prepare our children? How do we get closer? If you're having trouble with hope and you're feeling like we're in a really bad spot, and you're feeling hopeless, I'm not saying you don't pray. Maybe you don't, but you may need to reconsider how you're praying and re-establish that connection. Because when you understand prayer, you understand that prayer and salah is an act of submission, right? There's a direct connection to submitting yourself to Allah. And and when you connect that act of submission to something like qadr, fate, destiny, and what Allah has decreed for us and the ummah and the world at large, you understand, like, hey, you can't fight this. This is something that has to happen. Yes, we cry and our hearts mourn for everyone who's suffering, and we continue fighting, but this is part of that process.
Yep.
So that we transform into something amazing.
Yeah.
And this is how Islam has always gone through these phases where it expands really fast, and then there's like a consolidation phase, right? Where the Muslims collapse a little bit, they get weaker, they get fatter, they start enjoying the dunya a little too much, they stop fighting and expanding the Muslim world, and then the rug gets pulled underneath them, and then the new people come in.
Yeah.
The Abbasids came after the Umayyads, and then the Ottomans came, and so on, right? All these different empires all across the Muslim world came as different powers changed hand, and different motivations came into play.
Yeah.
We're kind of like Bitcoin. We to the moon, and then we come back down, and then we collapse, and then we go back up again.
No, dude, that's the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking about yuhil arda ba'da mawtiha, that He brings life to the barren, dead land. He brings it back when it was once dead, right? And He talks of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, obviously, in relative to talks about rain, right? How rain brings back a dead, cracked, completely, dry, barren land to life again, right? Yeah. I'll give you a small example of the whole cicada thing that's going to be happening in May.
So in the United States, for people who don't know, there's big swarms of giant insects.
Yeah.
Trillions, right? I don't know, like hundreds of billions.
Yeah, because it's two separate migrations. Usually we get one migration, but this is two separate migrations.
And they cover everything.
Yeah. It's going to be a whole lot. So my son kept on telling me, he's like, "Oh, are we going to travel? Can we leave the Midwest during that time?" And I was like, "Man, you want to spend $10,000 just so we can avoid this thing and then come back, right?" But what is it like? Where are these cicadas actually? Where do they emerge from?
From the ground, right?
They're from the ground, right?
Yeah.
They come up. They come up eventually until their season is ripe, and then they emerge out of the ground when they were once dead.
And they're like those eggs are planted like years.
Yeah.
I think they take like 7 years or 12 years
Yeah.
in making.
Yeah, exactly. And look, when Allah, there's so many transcendent issues when Allah talks about that, and there's so many things we can take from, He brings life back to the earth when it was once dead, right? Imagine how many different organisms and microorganisms are dead and they come to life in the ground, and there's vegetation in this earth. And the same thing happens to Muslims. The same thing happens to our heart. The same thing happens to somebody who wasn't a believer and becomes a believer. There's a dead heart and it becomes believing. And the same thing happens to us as an ummah. It's cyclical. It happens. And it's a part of, like you mentioned, it's sunnatullahi al-ard. It's Allah's sunnah on this earth. That there's nations that come and replace nations. It doesn't always mean like what happened with like replacing an indigenous population, but even an understanding of Islam and people reinventing themselves as Muslims. And we're in that process right now, right? Yeah. So there's two parts, because a lot of times people, they have a hard time, because you mentioned qadr. Just for clarification purposes, a lot of times people are confused when they say, okay, well, if this is qadr, then why are we getting angry about it? If we know, does it mean that if we're getting angry about what's happening in Palestine because it's a part of qadr, that we shouldn't be angry, we shouldn't be... No, so there's two parts to qadr, right? The first portion is that we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He wants it to happen, and what befits Allah's majesty, He is going to do whatever He wants, and we're going to be okay with it. The second portion is, the test portion of it is in this dunya. The qadr is from the ghaib. The part that's tangible is what we can do. Is Allah is saying that was happening, but what side were you on as far as amr bil ma'ruf and nahy anil munkar, and being completely complacent with what was happening. If you are able to join the two now, being okay with Allah's qadr and also encouraging the good and forbid the evil, then you're a person of Jannah. Because you don't want to be nihilistic completely and be like, okay, you know what, I'm just going to sit down because this is Allah's qadr, let it happen, and I'm not going to have any remorse for anything. No, that means you have a dead heart. That means you're also one of those people that doesn't properly understand qadr, right? And we don't want to, Allah protect us from ever being in that situation. So Allah always wants us to have the ghaib and the dunya in together, moving simultaneously forward. One is being okay with the qadr of Allah, but also when something is wrong, we actually speak up and we try our best to bring justice in our own capacity to the best of our ability. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, that's it. I'm saying, 'cause people
finally,
have
I think people, it's almost like a disrespect to the people, the shuhada of Palestine, all the people who have died, and they've shown, they put themselves in front of the camera, man. They showed to the world.
Yeah.
So many people have accepted Islam as a result of seeing their determination, their strength, how their faith has uplifted them through the most difficult phases of their life, the most difficult moments of their life. And when you're like losing hope and you're saying, oh, we're defeated people, and so we have no hope but in America's mercy, you are the lowest of the low. You're spitting on all their effort, all the effort they're doing to broadcast how to demonstrate sabr and how to handle loss and tragedy and how to be resilient through crisis. You're spitting on all that.
Yeah.
By saying, oh, like, how dare you, dude? Like, you shut up. Like,
if it was your own brother and sister, you wouldn't be doing the same thing. You would never be doing the same thing. And, you mentioned, again, something beautiful, and Mort mentioned this too, as far as shuhada. Look, if Islam, let's say Islam didn't have the concept of shuhada, right? Because the shuhada are alive, as Allah mentions, and they're getting provisions from Allah, but we don't fathom it, we don't grasp it. So let's say that didn't exist. How many people do you think converted since this Palestine thing happened? I would say over 10,000 easily internationally. Yeah. Let's say 30,000. Let's say let's say 100,000 converted internationally. If the concept of shuhada didn't exist, that means that Allah had replaced those people with other people.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing about Islam is those people are still alive, and on a worldly level, also Allah replaced those souls through those people who converted to Islam, right? So it's not like we're losing anything. We're actually gaining.
Yeah.
Right? So again, it comes back to Allah's qadr. Allah does whatever He wants, and we're okay with it. If Allah wants to take our own families, that's Allah's decision. That's His business. Our job is to be patient, and if it was something that was done wrong, we just try to seek justice, and we raise awareness, and we demand justice, actually. And that's all there is to it.
Yeah, and the Muslims have, for the past 100 years, been brutally killed by their regimes in
their own people,
in an effort to replace them. Like, this is not something that, oh, you know what, we're just blaming the rulers, or that we have terrible tyrants and dictators, fake democracies. There've been people who, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions, who knows? I can't put a number on it. Just Uzbekistan alone, over 70,000 people have been imprisoned or killed. All across it, from Egypt to Saudi Arabia to all these countries, so much blood has been lost trying to replace these regimes, and they have a vice grip on their power. They've figured out every single maneuver in order to stamp out rebellion, in order to stamp out any way to remove them.
And they realize the oldest way, the iron fist, is the best way to conduct people if you want to control them. Meaning, for a temporary band-aid fix of controlling your people, the iron fist works the best, because people hate fear. People don't want to be in fear, but if you keep them in fear, they're not going to rebel. And that's exactly how the Muslim world works.
Yeah.
Right? And again, it's not the people, it's the governments, them in specific, the people who are in power. If you go to any country, forget about Muslims, you go to any country, a majority of the people are very good people, right? A majority of the people, they're going to have common good etiquettes and want to help each other out. It is the test of people who are in power that Allah tests and shows their colors to all of us to let us know where we're going and who we are if we continue our disobedience to Allah. That's why, if you think about it, the rulers are only those. That's why they're there. They're examples that Allah is showing us of this is who you're going to become. Yeah. And don't be like these people. That's all they're there for. They have no other merit, to be honest with you, especially them showing their colors in this whole Palestine happening.
Man, when I see some of these things that are happening in Pakistan, I'm like, wait, I know Pakistan. I've been there. I've seen the people. They're very devout. I'm not saying every single Pakistani is good, or that's not true for any country, right? But you know that their heart and sentiment lies with Islam, and they have a deep attachment to their faith. And you see that, even with these most recent elections, you see them wanting change, and they're trying to bring about change through the system, and trying to bring righteous and good people to power. Imran Khan's supporters have won pretty much effectively majority of the Pakistani elections that happened over the weekend, and they gave a slap in the face to the army, because all the other candidates that the army backs lost or are like the minority, and they all decided to form a unity government. All the ones who lost or are in the minority, they are basically giving the finger to the PTI supporters, the Tehreek Insaf PTI party in Pakistan. They're saying, well, we're going to put our own prime minister in there anyway, even though you won. Wow. That's how outrageous the democracy in itself, whether it's in Pakistan or Brazil, wherever you want to look, it's falling apart. You're seeing that all these institutions are trying to shut him out.
States are trying to take him off the ballot.
We don't support Trump or anything, but we're seeing how the deep state operates, and we're seeing what the rules are supposed to be. There's like a deep state. There's all these other power players who are controlling how things should be governed and how things should be run all across the world and internally as well. And then there's what's written about, we're democracy, we're for the people, we act in your interest. But you've now effectively have learned, and many people around the world, whether you're Muslim or non-Muslim, are learning that democracy has just become a vehicle for these wealthy and elite people in the world to hold on to power.
It's crazy to think. Not to say they were Trump supporters, but just to show you that even from their own standard, like the fact that states can remove a presidential candidate off a ballot, like unheard of, right? But they're doing these things because what it shows you is they actually don't respect your institution. The ones that you claim, the ideas that you purport, the ideas that you support, the ideas that the ideas that you're trying to push out to the other world, the Eastern world. These ideas are only acceptable if it meets the standards of the people, the powers that be. If it contradicts them in any way, well, this is not good enough. We have to stop it. So they're willing to violate their own rules in order to make their will happen, right? And in this particular case, it happens to be with Mr. Trump. Like, you've never heard of a candidate being removed off a ballot by a state. That's usually something only the federal government does.
Yeah.
Right? And they're willing to allow that irrespective of whether you like Trump or you don't like Trump, right? It's just a matter of what the protocol is. Yeah. And they're willing to violate that simply because they want to keep a certain person in power and they have vested interest in him. Yeah. And that's what it is, right?
And look what they're I mean, this is a decent voice from the American public, right? And I'll tell you who this person is. He tweets out saying, "Foreign aid, by definition, is taxation without representation. Taxpayers are funding foreign governments without any say in how the funds are used. This country is literally formed to stop that sort of injustice. The whole system of foreign aid is corrupt, immoral, and evil." And then he goes on to say, "It should fill you with rage." There's a lot of people that actually retweeted this. "It should fill you with rage to think that food is being taken off your children's plates and sent directly to foreign bureaucrats to be used however they see fit, in ways that will not remotely benefit you or your family. The whole thing is completely insane. I can't believe anyone supports it," right? And this is where we see this huge divide occurring also, where people are just like, you know what? What are we doing here, even as like what the United States is supposed to be, right? And they have this slogan of end foreign aid to all foreign countries, end all aid to foreign countries. And this is we're seeing the fruits of this now. Not only did they cause corruption overseas, that corruption is now here, and people are seeing it very clearly, and people are getting more and more divided. People have been talking about it since Trump's presidency, but people are even more divided now regarding all of this. You know, Genocide Joe and Blinken. What do they call him? Blood Rage Blinken. What was it?
Bloody Blinken.
Something like that.
Something bloody Blinken.
Yeah, I sent you that clip. That was a dope clip, man. I think we should get that person on.
I think I just want to.
She's awesome. For people who don't know what we're talking about, there's this group of women, and credit to all the sisters all over the world, whether you're Muslim or not Muslim. These girls are just holding it down.
Yeah.
There's a group of girls who are
gangsters,
standing outside
gangsters
of Blinken's house and dumping what looks like blood, but it's just like food coloring.
Yes.
It's all washable. It's not like defaming public property or anything. But they're dumping red, what looks like blood all over.
When he's pulling out of his driveway, him and his wife. Are you able to play that clip? I sent it to you. I don't know if you're able to, but look, the reason why that's really important is, if you're going to pull it up, I'll just give it a little bit of a preface, is that, like we said from the beginning, we know something is very, very unprecedented for us in a very positive light when the greatest change comes from the least expected of places, right? And what these girls are doing, there's many other people, but what these girls, they've sacrificed everything. It's a lesson, that we can learn. They've sacrificed their entire careers, their families, and even the way people rationalize, because Blinken's family, towards the end of the clip, you're going to see that they try to rationalize. Blinken's wife sent out a message to these women, right, about their children being scared. You're scaring our children, right? And they actually have a pretty nice reply also to their actions. But they're literally they're camping outside of his house. Yeah. They have tents set up outside of his house.
While Sim pulls that up, I just wanted to read this thing that someone had posted in the Team M chat, and I think it was really interesting. It says, a guy named Owen Benjamin tweets out, and he says, "People keep asking me if I'm Muslim. I've never read the Quran, so I can't be. But I really like Sharia law. It's cleaner, destroys subversion, promotes wealth, and no income tax. And quote unquote jizya, the tax for non-Muslims, is very small and excludes you from military service. Yeah. The Judeo-Christians love to point to jizya as oppression, when just its existence shows you can not only be a Christian in a Muslim country, but your taxes go down.
Yeah, it's less than
There's
zakat.
no more usury and sodomy promoted in public, and porn is illegal. It was really funny when I realized Islam already does every single thing the right wing pretends to want. Ended the Fed, banned sodomy, no income tax, no porn, but yet for some reason it's quote unquote evil, because Ben Shapiro said it was. I've come to the conclusion that most of the right-wing quote-unquote conservatives don't actually want solutions. They want to complain and drag their feet, but still act exactly like the liberals they claim to oppose. That fundamental hypocrisy will lead nowhere good. Just turns people into zombies.
Yes, very well said.
Yeah,
very well said. I know he catches a lot of hate because he says some crazy outlandish
Well,
stuff.
he does say some
But he's
really
very
wild
comical.
stuff. We don't endorse.
No, I don't endorse him, but I think the point still stands here.
Yeah.
Like the comparison of and the hypocrisy of the right wing, and the fact that they call for these values. Oh, we don't want transgender. We want to have right protection over our children. All these things they talk about, like even the idea of when we talk about pure, original intended capitalism, right? Even those ideas are within Islam, right? Like the government cannot impose itself over your business and your mal and your wealth. It separates the government from your wealth. It can only impose the zakah and the jizya, right? Everything else is voluntarily. Things like this, the idea of freedom of agency and choice and being able to represent yourself, being able to speak truth to power. That's something that, meaning that's a small government, right? Because you're able to confront it. You're able to deal with it head on. Things like this, like anti-abortion, LGBTQ agenda, anti-molestation of women, right? All these kinds of things, right? Protection of family values, protection of society, implementation of law that serves as a deterrent. These kinds of things are all inherent to Islam, and this is everything the right wing acts like they want. But in reality, everything they've done is the opposite. They've elected politicians. They support groups. Their own religion has become a shadow of what it used to be. Churches are putting up LGBTQ flags now. They're not unsure if a woman is a man or a man can be. They don't know these things, and they're slowly starting to bend the knee. Yeah. In some way or form, they're doing it, regardless of whether they may have a gripe with another denomination for being more accepting of it, but they themselves are too. And I can guarantee you, like for example, they can go to church and say all these things, but the minute they go to the voting booth, and if that guy is a Republican, doesn't matter if he's gay, doesn't matter if he's a sodomite, doesn't matter if he's a weird freak out there in the street, but because he's Republican, that trumps everything, every moral fiber that I have. It doesn't matter because he's Republican.
Yeah. Here we go.
Shame on you! Shame on you!
So yeah, I couldn't play that other clip.
No,
Shit, I'm
that's
sorry.
fine. That's fine. Yeah.
But yeah, these sisters are, holding it down. They're just screaming, "Shame on you! Shame on you! Genocide Joe!"
And bloodlust Blinken or whatever they're calling him. But look, and Blinken's wife's, she spoke out to them and said, "Listen, you're scaring our children. They feel worried and all that." And that one Muslim lady, she said, "Your children are safe in their home. Nothing's happening to them." And they're not doing anything illegal, to be honest with you. These women that are camping out in front of their house on public property and throwing that red food coloring water, it's not going to do anything to the environment or whatever. And she said that the children that you're bombing in Gaza, that you're paying for with our tax money, so we have a right to this, that they're actually going through it. You're not going through anything, actually. You're just having some fear, but nothing's actually going to physically happen to you.
Well, I would have said very clearly, if you don't want your children to be exposed to this, don't get in the public eye.
Yeah,
you put yourself in you put yourself in a position that demands, accountability. Yeah, and if you can't handle that heat, and this is part of, by the way, here's the irony. Here's the irony. This is part of that democratic process. This is part of those ideas of la liberale, right? The idea that French Revolution was born on revolting and these crazy things in public. Look at France right now. The tractors are burning stuff in the middle of the street, right? This is the liberal freedom of expression you're talking about. Right now, all of a sudden, you don't like it. It doesn't serve in your favor.
Look, when someone comes into office, they know that they're fair game to the public opinion. They're fair game. Everything's going to happen to you. You can't act. You can't do all this and think nothing's.
I'm just saying you don't have a right to complain.
Yeah, of course you don't. You
Yeah.
do not have. I'm complete agreement with you. You have no right to complain.
So we found her.
The ability for people to come and bring us things. We have the ability for people to come and bring us things and show us love and show us affection and show us compassion, whereas people in Gaza don't. And on the same evening, our tents flooded. I opened my social media and saw that tents in Gaza were flooding, and they had nowhere to go.
So they're showing Blinkens Home. For the past 2 weeks, a group of activists has set up camp across the
Right
street.
now we are standing in front of the home of the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, who we believe is complicit in the crime of genocide against the Palestinian people in Gaza. We've been here when he leaves to go on trips, his last trip to Tel Aviv. We were here and also doused in his car with our what we call our kind of symbolic blood of Gaza's children. But this time we wanted to make sure that we caught him every single day when he goes and comes to work.
Would you like a tour of Kibbutz Blinken? So as you can see, we have several tents on the right side of the road, and then we have
Kibbutz
one tent
Blinken.
there.
I like that.
The first 2 tents are designated for the women in our group. This is our second tent for the ladies. This is our kitchen.
Teas and coffees and all the accessories. We have people signed up that bring in food every day. Some people, random people, they're just going around and they just stop and give us coffee, donuts, snacks.
Wow. This is so awesome.
I would
So
suggest
I wanted to know, well, Blinken, if we brought the settlement to you, are you completely okay with it? All too often, unfortunately, American
So
politicians and
symbolic.
people in positions of power here are completely absolved of any consequences of their actions in their personal lives. And I want to make him so uncomfortable and so not wanting to come home because he doesn't want to come through this. But the beauty about protest and the beauty about action is that you never know the ripple effect of what you can do and what you're doing.
There we
You know,
go.
I would suggest that they just, instead of using the milk jugs, they use like buckets. Because they get like a stream of blood, you know what I mean? Like it'd be like a, you know, they can like.
This
it'd
way
be-
it's easier to handle. you
No,
know?
not only that, the flow is better, right?
What
I
about
mean,
camel milk mixed with blood.
you know, I mean, if I could afford
That's
to
a
give
lot
them
of money,
camel-
bro.
Yeah,
That's a lot of money.
yeah. But I'm just saying that, I mean, buckets is, because you know, like the blood is pouring.
Yeah,
It's not just like a, you know, I mean, I guess that's a nice way to do it for now, but I think that's a nice way just to like, you know, just, like Nickelodeon, you throw the bucket.
Bucket of slime.
Yeah, like a bucket of blood, right?
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, man. I'm proud of those people.
Yeah,
bro.
mashallah. Good for
hold
them.
on.
Yeah, how are you going to lose hope when you see like amazing people like this
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
all over the world?
Yeah.
Everyone doing. Did you see the Irish basketball team?
Yeah.
Yeah, the girls basketball team. They
Yeah.
refused to shake the Israelis' hand.
Good.
Shout out to Ireland, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Hold it down, bro.
The Irish have been like the probably the number one supporter of as a non-Muslim country, European country. Nobody tops Ireland. Nobody does. The passion and even the steps they take. It's not just words. Like they take steps to place embargo on. Like they have a bill right now, I think, trying to ban Israeli goods inside of Ireland, right? Because or Northern Ireland, I should say. No, Ireland. I'm sorry, Ireland. Yeah, but they don't want to have any goods there, right? And so they actually take steps to.
The Netherlands also did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Netherlands stopped exporting certain weapons.
But now that's
some
going-
parts that are.
Yeah, I think that's going to go away because Geert Wilders is in charge now, and he's like.
Does he have the? No. Geert Wilders is not winning, bro. He's not gonna.
I thought he's already in power.
No, he's not.
Isn't that?
No, he's not able to win the majority in parliament.
I thought he made a coalition though. That's how they work
no,
over there.
he didn't. No.
I'll double check that. Let me see.
Um,
Let me double check it while you pulling that other thing up for.
I was actually trying to find a connection. Did you guys remember that? Did you guys hear about the connection of the Houthis cutting off the internet services? Did you guys hear about something about that?
All right. I'm sorry. One
Yeah,
sec.
no, go ahead.
So here we go. Right. This is just 2 days ago. Dutch court orders halt of F-35 jet part exports to Israel. A Dutch appeals court has ordered the government to block the delivery of parts for the F-35 fighter aircraft to Israel over concerns they are being used to violate international law. The court sided with human rights groups who argued the parts provided from a Dutch warehouse contributed to law violations by Israel in Gaza. Israel denies committing war crimes. The Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza says more than 28,000 people have been killed. Okay, it's just getting more.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're right. Geert Wilders is not. He's trying to form that coalition. He's now he has to make some concessions, but I don't even know if he'll get in. But yeah, Sim was right. He hasn't. He's growing popular, but he can't form a government.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else we got on plate, brothers?
So I think the bottom line is, in reflection, like Sim said, if everything that's going on and the events that are happening, you can't lose hope, and you shouldn't lose hope. And furthermore, even if these things didn't happen, remember as Muslims, the promise of Allah is true. Nothing can escape the qadr of Allah. When He intends something, it's done. Right? So this may not be the time, but we as Muslims don't do things because we see immediate results. That's never been our motivation. We do things because we enjoin the good and forbid the evil. Mm-hmm. We know what's right. We want to raise that word of tawheed. We want to bring that justice. We want to bring that light to the world. And sometimes that process is hard. It's difficult. It's not easy. If it was easy, that would mean that Jannah is easy, and it's not easy. Allah frequently says, "We're going to test you," and the ones that are tested more, those are the ones that are going to be rewarded more. Actually, if you're sitting on Twitter and you're saying, brother, you can't do anything, or we're defeated," right? Maybe you should think about why Allah hasn't tested you. Maybe you should think about if your iman is so low, Allah is not testing you. Because if Allah loves the ones He tests the most, why are you not being tested?
Yeah, because you're not saying anything that's upsetting anyone.
Yeah,
I guarantee you, every single Muslim in the West don't. Here's the thing, guys. Don't underestimate what your impact is. You're putting things on the line too. Everyone who is speaking, even so much as the like button, everything it involves a risk in some capacity. Your workplace could find out, or anytime the Zionists put their crosshairs on you, they want to scare you into submission. They want to scare you into silence. They did that with every single person. Remember that one actor? What's his name? Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
Seth Rogen. He a few years ago he went on a limb and he said,
"Oh, he's saying how Zionism is crazy and it's
I've been brainwashed since I was a child," and they went after him.
He was saying about how ludicrous it is, like how you can just it just doesn't make any sense. It's like when you look at it, and then they went absolutely berserk on him
to the point where he had to go and bend the knee to the Jew, even though he's Jewish himself. He's a Jewish actor who's in a lot of movies. Very popular,
openly Jewish.
He had to go and bend the knee to the American. Is it the AJC?
JDL or Jewish? No.
I'm not sure.
ADL,
but one of these type of Jewish organizations that are Zionists as well. He had to go bend the knee and apologize, and he said, my words got taken out of context, and that's not what I intended. I'm sorry. I'll never do that again. And ever since then, he's been quiet.
Yeah.
You know?
You know what's funny? There's a Twitter handle, and it's called Stop Anti-Semitism. And
They doxed him. Yeah.
no, not only that, but the funny part is now even because there was a coach.
Wait. Stop anti-Semitism is the Zionist one.
It's Zionist one.
There's a Stop Zionist Hate.
Yeah,
is
yeah. I like
the
that
Muslim
guy.
guy.
Yeah, I love that one.
They doxed him.
Yeah, awesome.
They revealed his name. The Stop Anti-Semitism people.
Yeah.
They revealed his name.
I know, and they docked that liberal, whatever, that person, that girl behind the. Yeah, but I'm saying this particular channel is funny because they had this black coach that was a basketball coach, and he was in support of Palestine, and apparently, like, he was wearing a T-shirt that had a watermelon, but in the shape of Palestine, and he's like, "This ever since October 7th." The watermelon has been a symbol of resistance. Hamas. This is anti-Semitism. Even now, like, watermelons are anti-Semitic now.
You see them in the background now. People don't have the flags anymore. They have watermelons in the background of their podcasts.
Exactly, and like, so watermelons now are anti-Semitic.
Yeah, for people who don't get the whole watermelon thing, is they started using the watermelon emoji because the Palestinian flag. Every time you use that in your social media posts, the ranking or the reach
algorithm, right?
The algorithm would minimize the reach of that post. So to get around that, Palestinians started thinking, oh, well, what other emoji has green, black, and red?
Well, actually, this actually dates way before this. This at a time in Palestine, it was not allowed for them to hold the Palestinian flag up. So Palestinian farmers would actually hold watermelons. They would bring watermelons out. It became a symbol of their resistance. This is something that dates way far back.
It just came back, resurfaced.
Yeah, because Palestinians knew this from their history, so they just began using it now again. But this is something that goes back to when the Nakba happened and not being allowed to raise Palestinian flags and the subjugation they were under. So all they could do is display watermelons.
Yeah,
and then the Israelis say, "Oh, we're one of the largest producers of watermelon." That is because you stole the watermelons. You literally stole the watermelons, and then you're upset. You're laughing at that. Yeah, you're the exporter of watermelons. How dare you? How dare you? The brazen attempt of how much can you steal from a people, man?
Yeah, dude.
Man, these people they literally in their martial arts, Krav Maga, they literally stole all these different parts of different other grappling martial arts. And they made their own. They didn't come up with anything, and they said it's our heritage. Your heritage? What? My behind? Like
they tried to say
you started
that,
like what 20, 30 years ago.
They tried to say that it's based on the Hebrew alphabet. All these positions and stuff. Like, she's not fooling anybody. But the funny part
propaganda machine,
even that I'm sure most people know the song. It's very popular. Ana Dami Falestini. That song, right? They even made an Israeli version of that song. Can you imagine that? They ripped off the beat and everything. Like, they can't leave anything alone. Yeah. Anything.
Wow. I think I don't know if you guys want to shed light on Tucker and Putin.
Oh, yeah. Did you see that?
Yeah.
I liked it. I know people were saying, "Oh, it's long form." And I actually personally liked it. Look, I'm not saying we have to agree. Look, I'm not one of those people that say Putin is a savior and a great man. He has done a number on Muslims as well, too.
Yeah.
In Syria, especially.
Yes.
He's a degenerate.
And in Chechnya and Dagestan and Afghanistan, places like this, they've done a number. However, I think it's important to realize that we have to be able to see the other side, or at least hear what they're saying, right? And hearing the other side tells you a lot about your own side as well, too. About, when I say your own side, meaning your American government. Right, the things that they don't want to tell you. There's a reason why the American government doesn't like them. We have different reasons why we don't like him, but there's a reason why the American government doesn't like him. There's a reason why they fear a Chinese and Russian alliance. There's a reason why they don't want them to have any foothold in the Middle East. And the way I look at it is, you know what? Let them fight each other. This is great. I mean, get it out, right? I mean, get it on. You guys have been like doing this weird dance for the last 40 years. Get it on, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you know how they say there's tension in the room, like sexual tension?
Yeah.
Just go on, bro. Just do it, bro. Like, get it on, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just saying, and I think it's brilliant how Tucker just, kind of allowed him to go into that deep explanation of the Ukraine.
Yeah.
I think that's good for most Americans have no idea about that history.
Yeah.
Right? But I think there's one, I'll let Sim comment here, but I think there's just one thing where I was not happy about. I think Putin could have taken that time to reach out to non-American audiences and explain why China and Russia are better partners for the long term. Right, the idea that we don't like they don't want to impose regime change or package deals of trans rights or gender studies, and they just simply make the case for why Russia and China are moving into that power.
Yeah, Imam Malik said, Dr. Shadi put this up once a while back. Imam Malik said, well, in regards to an unjust rebellion against a oppressive ruler, like both sides are bad. Imam Malik said, let them both tear each other down. So
that's exactly what happened.
Let the oppressors tear each other down. So, and I think that's sometimes our position in some of these things where we look like I want Putin to cause enough dissent in American society against the war or American hands in Ukraine and NATO expansion, right? I want him to do well in the interview. That doesn't make me a Putin supporter, right?
Yeah.
Because I want him to do a good job so that Americans see that, hey, look, this is a stupid war. Like, why would you want to be involved in that, right? But in actuality, you don't want American hegemony to expand, or you don't want the expansion of American imperial interests at large, right? So fundamentally, you don't agree with either one, right? You don't agree with American imperialism nor Russian interference in other countries, right? Because they both are the same side of the same, different side of the same coin.
But one thing that I saw from it, I think there was a lot of power posturing and stuff that was happening. I mean, we could talk about that later. But one really interesting thing that you could narrow down from this is that somebody like Tucker Carlson, who's not in politics, he's a commentator, he's a journalist. According to what his paradigm is, he's really good at what he does in his paradigm. We don't have to agree with his paradigm. Someone like him was able to sit with Putin and talk to him and ask him questions. And Putin was trying to put up this. He's showing the world that not only just through his words, by talking about all the history for the first half of everything, or majority of it, he talked about history, but trying to show the world that he's actually a good person. It actually shows his weakness, right? He's trying to show the world through Tucker Carlson that he's a good person. He can be talked to. He's very easy to talk to. He can sit down and slouch and talk. He doesn't have to be this emperor, type figment that the West has painted of him, which is fine. He probably is what everything. But there's a lot of things that were happening. But one really interesting thing is, look, in Surah Al-Rum is actually a very important surah for Muslims to understand as far as power and its shifts are concerned, right? The Mushrikeen al-Makkah, they actually supported the Persians because they were like them, right? They were fire worshippers, they were idol worshippers, they were Zoroastrians. And the Mushrikeen al-Makkah were rooting for the Persians. When the Muslims wanted the Romans to defeat the Persians because they were from the people of the Kitab, right? And Allah talks about that in the Quran. People of the book, right? They were Christians. The known, historically as a Byzantine Empire. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually named the surah after Rome. غُلِبَتِ الرُّوم. Rome is going to be defeated. And after a certain amount of years, they're going to defeat fi bid'i sinin. Bid'i sinin is anywhere from 3 to 9 years, right? And that's actually what happened. I think it was 8 or 9 years of them later defeating. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and from this, the believers are going to be happy. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually catered to the believers, even there was other power plays happening with two empires that the Muslims were eventually going to face later, and hoping that the Romans would actually beat the Persians in order to destroy the morale of the Mushrikeen al-Makkah, right? So when we talk about what international powers are doing and how it's relevant to Muslims, we're not doing anything outlandish. We're not doing anything out of the scope of Islam. It's just an expectation that Allah wants us to have to know how this world works and how we can make better decisions. And in it, we can see the signs of Allah, right? And it is true. Let them fight themselves away. That's actually what's eventually going to happen, right? And we shouldn't be disheartened by that, because as long as we have Allah, actually nothing actually really matters, to be honest with you. So there's no such defeat, coming full circle. There's no such thing as defeat as a believer, as long as they believe in Allah, right?
Yeah.
And all sovereignty belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's it. Nothing
What
else
did you
matters.
think?
What regarding
Of the
interview?
The interview, I thought
Putin
I thought Putin did well. I didn't know if he needed to go through the history of why Russia has claims on Ukraine. I thought that was, you could have gone on and talked a little bit more about.
But
other
why do you
subjects.
think he focused on that, though? I want to get your take on why did he
think
focus heavily? Because I have my own take. Why did he focus so long,
Oh, because
drawn out, monotony on that?
I think that he truly believes that Russia has a claim on Ukraine. Because you have to understand, he's someone that takes pride in the Russian Empire. They don't like the way communist Russia played out. They want the way the Russian Empire was, and you have
He
to
calls it
understand.
the greatest tragedy that befell on the Russian people.
Correct.
The USSR falling
And
apart.
if you know anything about the Russian Empire, the starting point was Kiev.
Yeah.
That's where it started from.
Yeah.
Right?
But don't you think through that, look, what I was seeing in that is he was getting the hearts and minds of the Americans to say that, look, all of you guys who are opposing this whole thing, we're with you. This is actually how it all started. So you're correct, and you're uprising against America.
Well, yes, of course he's catering to that, but this has always been the claim for Russia. Always. This is not
but
something.
now is his time to give it an elaborate,
Like I said, that's why he went to the history, because he gets a chance to present the case for Russia. Most Americans don't know the history. They're taught one side of history, right? They don't know the history of.
They're taught propaganda.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think he wanted to take that time, and that's why I think he asked Tucker Carlson, hey, are we just doing a talk show, or are we doing an actual conversation?
Yeah. Are we
and
doing
I
a
think
show? Yeah.
he took advantage of that to say, listen, I'm laying out the claim as to why, not only him, but why Russians feel like Ukraine is symbolic and close to them. And I think he laid out that claim very well. I think
Tucker did a fantastic job. I think he interrupted him very little and let him talk, because this wasn't a Tucker show. It was supposed to be, Putin getting his thoughts out, his rationale behind all the different maneuverings and political happenings that are happening across the world, and his complex relationship with the United States over the course of many decades. He's a very intelligent person. He's not like Biden and these morons who are kind of like just puppets of the deep state.
Very calculated.
That get prepped up. He's very intelligent, and that there is purpose behind it. He's not, although he's behind all kinds of different savage killings and atrocities all across the Muslim world, whether it's Chechnya or Syria. You know that for him it's business. He doesn't necessarily care about hatred of Islam. I'm sure he cares about political Islam, in terms of establishing your own state and stuff like that. That he must be concerned about. Sure. But in regards to religion and stuff, he just sees it as anything else, like the Christianity or anything. He's a person who is, like, in his own words, he said, we are a commerce-based society where we thought we could join NATO eventually. We gave the idea to Bill Clinton, where we expressed interest in joining NATO, and Bill Clinton was like, yeah, maybe that could happen. And then he went and talked to the deep state, and they said, no, you can't. They can't be part of us. Why is that? Because fundamentally, in its nature, Russia, China, and I would say to a smaller extent, not India, but France.
Economically, India,
a lot of it's the main 5 countries in the permanent Security Council, right? Mm-hmm. France, England, America, and China and Russia are primarily the world's powers that have ambitions beyond their own territory, right? They want to carve up their own gang territory, and fundamentally, when you look at the world in that lens, at least from a NATO's perspective, you're like, wait, why would we want another country in our thing? We need to have an enemy, right? We can't have another person we're dividing up our profits with and that spoils with.
That's a good observation.
You know?
Yes, sir.
There has to be a bad guy. There has to be a boogeyman.
Well, and someone you can't. How many pieces of the pie are you going to cut? Because when the UK and France and America, when they go along with these NATO expeditions, you think they wanted to do Iraq out of the mercy of their hearts? They're like, oh well, United States is a bastion of freedom and liberty. We have to stand beside them. No, they knew that they're going to get some contracts out of it. Mm-hmm. Now imagine if the Russians were part of that agreement of NATO. They're going to have to give a few oil fields to the Russians, right?
Yes, sir.
So you have to start dividing more and more countries into your expedition. So anyone
Great
who
explanation.
So I think Putin did a good job of exposing how presidents might want to do something, but when they go back, the deep state or the administrations that are guiding them have entirely different objectives that align with American interests, right? And they'll come back and say, no, we can't do it. Like, you know, and I think he made a good example of that when he was talking about how Yeltsin came and said, God bless America and all the stuff, right? Yeah. Hinting that, hey, we're all good friends now. We're great. Yeah. You know, we want to work with you. Bless you, right? And then it just kind of blew him off, right? Yeah. And he makes a great point about how why he had to develop his hypersonic missiles, right? He talks about how these defense systems, how he said, hey, why are you doing this? Why don't we work together to do this so we can all keep the world safe, right? Yeah. But since you want to exclude us from that, we're saying fine, but we're not going to be the oddball out, right? We're not just going to allow you to overpower us. So we're forced to now make these hypersonic missiles, right? And so he makes a great case in at least whether those are true and not a whole different story. The conversations he had with the backroom dealings, the whatever, that's a whole different story. But at least from his perspective, at least the perspective he's giving to the audience, you can understand why they're in the position they're in, right? And I think he makes a great case for that.
Yeah. It's interesting, at least when you see like the puppets like Boris Yeltsin came to the United States, he ate the Idaho potato because you guys remember that scene? So he ate a Idaho potato. He just like just raw. He just like bites into it like
freedom fries.
What are you doing, man? Like cook the potato before you eat it. There's no one I know ever eats a potato raw.
There's only one person, but
I guess it's something in Russia. I guess.
Well, we have a mutual friend. I don't want to mention him, but he eats raw potatoes and onions.
Oh, really? Yeah. Our friend from Oman?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He just eat it. Oh, bro, he'll eat a raw onion, potatoes. He doesn't give it. He doesn't give it.
Man, we had this big jar of olives. We had it downstairs. My parents bought it from Costco, and we left it downstairs with all the supplies and stuff that you buy from Costco and you keep in your storage room. He was downstairs, like, we maybe left him alone for like 5 minutes. We come downstairs, and the entire jar... It's like this big jar, man, of olives. He just, like, drank it all. He inhaled the olives.
No, this is nothing. Listen,
I never knew this.
I'm telling you, I witnessed this in front of me, bro. We went to Subway, where they had the deal for the footlong. He ate 6 footlongs in one sitting, and
no, come on.
Wallahi, qasmun billah, he had 6 footlongs, and then get this: 45 minutes later, we got back to the apartment. He took out those Alaskan shrimps from like the freezer, and he was gonna. Oh, by the way, he ate a raw onion when he came home. He started eating the onion, and then he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna make some shrimp. You want some shrimp?"
How do you do that?
I don't know, but he just used to eat anything and everything. Anyways, we digress.
Yeah, I don't think we have anything else. Do we?
After 6 footlongs, no.
We have a great show coming up this weekend with Arash Tawakkoli. He's a historian. He's a Islamic studies professor, specializing in Shafi'i fiqh, and a Mamluk historian. So we're going to learn a little bit about Mamluk history as well. He's just a pleasure and delight to talk to. I got to know him over.
We can find out why Muzaffar's wife killed him.
Muzaffar Beg?
Qutus.
Oh, Muzaffar Qutus.
Yeah.
No, I don't
his
think
sister or wife?
His wife didn't kill him.
His sister or wife, one of the two.
Bro, it was the other guy who took over the Mamluks.
No, she appointed him The one that came after, but she was the one that actually orchestrated it. Oh, we'll find out about it. I think that's
We'll
what I know.
settle that
Yeah,
dispute
we'll find out. Yeah,
first.
we'll settle it later. I will see you on Saturday.
Arash will settle this for us.
And that's 2 p.m. Central Time?
2 p.m. Central this Saturday. Excited for that show. Help us out on patreon.com/the
Wait, guys, listen. You guys gotta smash that like button. I'm tired of having to do this all the time. Like, guys, come on. Like, you guys, there's like 70 of you guys watching.
Even
at
if
one
you're
point.
listening on the podcast,
Yeah,
come
just
hop on YouTube.
I'm gonna reload right now, and I want to make sure that there's like 16 likes. Okay, I'm gonna reload right now. Let me see how many likes we have. Still 16 likes, guys. There's like 50 of you in the chat.
Yeah.
Just tap the like button. Just do it real quick. Make our day. It's Valentine's Day. Give them a gift.
Give me a gift.
Oh, you guys.
I love you all.
Oh, and then also subscribe on TikTok.
TikTok,
Please.
the Mad Mamluks. Instagram at the Mad
Because
Mamluks.
once we get good subscribers there,
Twitter.
we can actually go live. You can stream this live on TikTok as well too.
All right. That's a wrap. We'll see y'all next time. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.